Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Friday, January 31st, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral. With me today is Sunshine Cathedral's executive minister. He's also my husband, Bishop Robert Griffin. Sunshine Cathedral's Minister of Connections, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, she's Amy's wife, and Sunshine Cathedral's Minister of Education, Reverend Kevin Tisdall, he's Michael something. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about our progressive faith community and how you can be a part of it no matter where you live in the world. And if you live in South Florida, be sure to check out the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts, offering entertainment for the LGBTQ+ community to benefit the LGBTQ+ community. To learn more about Sunshine Cathedral, make prayer requests, or offer donations, go to sunshinecathedral.org. Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots Magazine, the 25th anniversary of Queer News Tonight, and we produced the 25th anniversary of Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. We're the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies. If you enjoy the Queer God Squad, please share this or other episodes with your friends, family, and social media communities. This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Know about Bishop Pike, an ally to queers well before Stonewall. James A. Pike, who lived from 1913 to 1969, was an early proponent of the ordination of women. In fact, without approval, he ordained a woman to the diaconate. Pike supported racial desegregation and the acceptance of LGBT people in the church. He was the Bishop of California in the Episcopal Church. He held 2 law degrees from Yale and a seminary degree from my alma mater, Union Theological Seminary in New York City. Pike invited Martin Luther King Jr. to speak at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco in 1965, following his march to Selma. After his son's untimely death, Pike became interested in the paranormal. He even tried to reach his late son through psychics. He died in the Israeli desert while researching a book he wanted to write, and coincidentally, that book was about Jesus wandering in the desert. His rented car got stuck, and he and his wife Diane tried to walk to safety, but were farther away from any community than they realized. While wandering lost in the desert, Pike fell down a steep canyon where he died. Diane found help and survived. Pike was accused of heresy at least 4 times. Yay! He didn't accept the Trinity. He didn't believe in hell. He openly debunked the so-called virgin birth. He was definitely ahead of his time. Pike is included among our saints and spiritual heroes at Sunshine Cathedral. It's interesting. In a documentary I saw about him, which I believe was voiced by Leonard Nimoy, or if that matters, Spock himself, that he was found in a kneeling position as if he were praying when he died. I don't know if he was praying, like, okay, I'm ready, or if he was praying, okay, let me try one last time to reach my son in the afterworld, or if he was praying for help or whatever. But that he was found in a praying position. He was the first person that I'm aware of that made liberal faith, liberal Christianity, sort of popularized. There was Bishop Sheen, who was a big old conservative Catholic bishop on TV, but Bishop Pike was media savvy. He had law degrees in addition to a seminary degree. He was raised Catholic, but then became Episcopal. So he was just this fascinating person. When he would go to hospitals and anoint the sick, he rewrote the blessing. He took the Trinity out of it. So to bless people that way. And he would tell the truth. Like if he thought this is myth, or this is borrowed from another culture, or this was a parable, or this was never being taken literally, he just said it. Well, no, that's pretty common. Right. You'd expect. In fact, you're angry if people don't tell you the truth. But in those days, anything that went against the doctrine or the traditions or the creeds, it was controversial. Well, he was doing it. He was sort of by himself. about the same time as, or I think a little before him, was Bishop John A.T. Robinson, Church of England bishop and New Testament scholar, who inspired Bishop Spong. And then, of course, then came Pike, and then Bishop Spong. So those are sort of the three Anglican liberal theologians. Of course, there'd be many more to follow, but they were huge influences in my life and in my thinking. He was very bold when he would be on a talk show or being interviewed, and they would just ask him, "But what about this? Don't you believe that?" He said, "No, I don't believe that." I mean, no shade for those who do, but no, I don't believe that. He thought that life was continuous, that when this died, that the real you would continue. Which is why he was hoping he could reach his son. And he said that that he believed that you continue as you were. So if you were a scoundrel, you're still have to work on that, because you're not going to stop being a scoundrel and become a great person in an instant.
Wow.
I was like, okay, now you start where you left off. So that's why you want to be a good person, because you're farther ahead. But you got to learn it, and you got to get it right. You got to heal the brokenness. So if you don't do it now, you're gonna have to do it later. So you may as well try to do it now and have a head start on whatever's next.
You don't get away.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. I don't know that I buy it 100%, but it was certainly an interesting way to look at it, and that I wouldn't be bothered if that's the way it is. But yeah, he would just say, of course, the virgin birth does it. And he would talk about how these things were sort of metaphorical in what they could mean and how they could be true, but that you didn't have to pretend you didn't at that time live in the 20th century to be a person of faith, which I just think he was way ahead of his time. We may even be to the left of him at the Sunshine Cathedral, but in those days, nobody was to the left of him.
I love that you said in his story that he was accused of heresy at least 4 times. You know what? The best movements, the best religious movements are started by heretics.
Yeah, Jesus started one.
Exactly, every single time. So I think he would fit in very well here at Sunshine Cathedral.
When I think of him, Bishop, I think of just being a trailblazer. This is one of the original pioneers, if you will, as an ally who trailblazed on behalf of the gay and lesbian community, and to kind of like be that one in the voice calling out, "Look, folks, let's get real about this." And I like how he owned his own belief. Not that I get the Episcopal Church, but I own my own belief. I bring who I am to this to say, this is what I believe and I don't believe, and this is why I believe what I believe. Right. And it's based on my experience, which is one of the three-legged stools for the Episcopal Church, his experience. And so he brought his own experience to what he believed, what he preached, and what he taught, and also lived that out in a way that obviously connected him to his son in the great beyond in a different kind of way. He wasn't waiting for his life to end in order to connect with his son. It was already working on it. So that's kind of a thing like, okay, how do we do this? It's about energy, life, clearly loving his son, and clearly loving his wife, and his wife loving him to take that kind of a trip, and that kind of a tragic ending, and that she was able to live on and tell hopefully some more of the stories of his life also.
Yes.
I think she was younger. She may have been just in better condition. You know what I mean? I think she was a bit younger than he was.
Just real quick, I can guess that at some point or another that every person at this table has been called a heretic.
Yes.
I'm going to be comfortable in saying that.
Only once?
has been called.
I get deeply depressed if a week goes by. It didn't happen.
But I remember one time in seminary, sitting there and we're talking, and I'm an out gay black man, have been for a very, very long time. And
since 1913, when Pike was born.
And I love you too. But I remember a classmate asking, how could, and they used different words, but they were saying, how could a heretic who is black, gay, and out be in seminary? Well, these same people, by the time we were finished in school, and I bet, again, that the experience is mutual, that they started coming to me, to us, for answers to questions that they thought they had answers to. But once they started learning and listening, they found out, wow, I don't know everything, and it's okay to talk about the myths as opposed to the truths.
Right.
And once you get to that point, you start getting very comfortable, and it looks like Bishop Pike was one of those people who was very comfortable in debunking any story, any truth, and make it a good myth. Worth listening to, but a myth nevertheless.
He probably wore that heretic badge very proudly.
Yes.
Actually, there was he actually did have to undergo trial for one of them,
Yeah.
and it was very hurtful to him. In fact, he I think he resigned shortly after that, and just became sort of a public figure. But he resigned, from the diocese.
Yeah.
So he wasn't. So that's where he was when he was researching a book.
Wow.
He wrote several books. He was a really good writer and a good speaker. But he was very hurt by it. And I don't know that, and I don't think he really fully engaged with the Episcopal Church or any church after that.
Yeah.
But and then he was angry because they accused him of heresy, and then had the trial, and then dropped it. They just sort of dropped the charges, and he's like, "Oh no, you started it. I want this to be to the end and be then acquitted."
Yeah.
But they did. So that's another way who's mad. It's like, wait a minute, you've stirred all this grief in my life, and now you're not even letting it be concluded. So it was, the church can be very hurtful.
Yes.
Especially the more institutionalized it is, because then you're protecting the institution rather than nurturing people. And what he was trying to nurture people, he ordained a woman to the diaconate. No one said he could, and it took years for the larger church to recognize her. He supported gay people. He had his Dr. King, a Baptist minister, speak in his pulpit. That was pretty undone.
Yeah.
He had a Methodist minister in his diocese that he licensed to preach in the diocese without becoming Episcopalian. I mean, he didn't care. Like, oh, this is a good thing to do. This is going to nurture people. This is going to be liberating. Let's do that.
Hey.
And, but we have a canon somewhere. He couldn't be bothered. He was a chain smoker too, by the way. The 60s,
Yeah.
So but he was hurt by that stuff, but he didn't let that stop him. He did what he thought was right, and the institution over people and their needs and their dignity. He always sided with people.
May more do so.
Yes. Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, we want to invite you to join Sunshine Cathedral on a wonderful travel experience and help our mission for our community. Join us on the Florida AIDS Walk Pride Cruise. This unique 3-day cruise will sail from Miami on the $1 billion and ultra deluxe 170,000-ton MSC Seascape on November 2nd, 2005. The cruise is for the Florida AIDS Walk. Your participation helps 13 vital beneficiaries in our community. The cruise is an incredible value starting at just $199. Parties, special events, and more aboard, including a special unlimited beverage and open bar with Wi-Fi for all 3 days for just $68. We invite you to join us on this amazing cruise for fun. This vital cruise for good.
We want to thank you for joining us. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBT community is talking about. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together.
We all are in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.